Hi, and welcome to Writing with Sandhya. So, yet another episode on Poetry Month. Really excited about today. It's going to be a blockbuster session. We have Anirban Bhattacharyya, who's the producer of very well-known serials such as Savdhaan India and Crime Patrol. And he's also a stand-up comic. I saw him on YouTube recently. So what is a big producer like Anirban doing on a, like a small homegrown channel like this, and that too on Poetry Month? Let's find out. Hi, Anirban. But delighted to have you on the show.
Yeah, as if people are wondering why I'm here, क्योंकि मैं प्यार का भूखा हूँ. I always want love. मुझे कादल चाहिए, कादल.
मिलेगा, बिल्कुल मिलेगा. And yes, I was saying, so from crime to comedy to kavita, how did these transitions happen?
So, I started with comedy, 2010. I was India's first open mic winner at the Comedy Store when they came from London and set up store in Mumbai. And then, of course, real life took over because comedy doesn't pay. Papi pet ka sawal hai. So then I started working and, I created a show called Savdhaan India for a channel called Life OK, which is now Star Bharat. And, very blessed that the show really took off. It was a super hit. People loved the show. And post that, I wrote my first book, which came out in 2019. It's called The Deadly Dozen, India's Most Notorious Serial Killers. So this is a true crime book. So while I was doing Crime Patrol, I thought about doing Savdhaan India. I thought about writing a true crime book. And I realized that there is no book about serial killers of India. क्योंकि लोग सोचता है कि serial killers तो Western world में होता है, India में तो है ही नहीं. वो गलत बात है. So I wanted to establish that there are serial killers in India and their stories. So that's what I wrote. And in 2020, when 2020, when the lockdown happened, I started getting a little bit, restless because I have 4 books with publishers and everything slowed down, as you know, in the publishing world, right? Nobody was publishing for a long while. So when I was in college, I started writing poetry, right? I used to write poetry because I did my college from St. Xavier's, Calcutta, and BA English Literature. So I used to write poetry, and this is the red diary in which I used to write my poetry, and it's an absolutely like tattered self, but you can see like you can see stuff like and you can see the date and all of that, 91 and 92, something like that. 93, August 19th, August 93. Anyway, so this is what I used to write in, and at that when you're in college, you're brave and you're optimistic, and real life hasn't hit you. So we are ready to conquer the world. So I thought कि हाँ एक दिन मेरा जब कविता publish होगा तो मैं उस collection का क्या नाम दूँ. So I then thought about it, and out of thin air I decided to call Petals.
Petals, okay.
Right. So this is what I wrote as the name of the collection. Is a collection of, what is it called? A collection of feelings, thoughts, and ideas in poetry and prose. I was ready to conquer the world. Correct. Kya baat hai. So I called the book Petals. So during lockdown, I started getting restless, saying kya karu. So I took out this book and I started writing it in fair. Typing it out, making corrections, and then I contacted my literary agent, which is Suhail Mathur and the Book Bakers, and I said, poetry koi print karega kya? So the usual reaction of publishers is mainstream publishers avoid poetry. Unless and until you're a Vikram Seth, or you are a Jayant Kriplani, or you're somebody who's well known, a celebrity, a good writer, established writer. It's very difficult to get publishing deals for poetry because they say publishers कहते हैं कि poetry तो कोई खरीदता नहीं है हाँ और poetry क्योंकि इतना personal होता है कि people don't sort of understand it, which of course I don't agree with, but that's when Suhail stepped in, and within 2 weeks I had a publisher, a mainstream publisher who was brave enough to publish poetry still in these times, and English poetry wo bhi. And then I realized the name of the publisher.
Yeah.
The name of the publisher is
Petals. Oh my goodness.
29 years ago, what I had seeded in this book, thinking I'll call my collection Petals, was finally published by Petals.
Okay, that's providential, okay. Getting goosebumps.
Yeah, it is. And when I realized it, I almost cried because there's serendipity, they say that if you want it really so badly, that the universe will conspire to make it happen for you, right?
Right.
Which is the secret and all of that. So I manifested, I seeded it 29 years ago. And tabhi pata nahi tha. Hai na? So this is the book and it's come out. It's a collection of poetry. It's called Mumblings and Musings, published by Petals and Harpreet Makkar. And it's a book with lovely photographs by my childhood friend Ashish Bakshi. We went to boarding school together, and so these are the photographs and poems. So each poem has a corresponding photograph. So it's just got released December 2021. So absolutely blessed, thankful to book bakers for getting the deal, and of course to Petals. मैं हरप्रीत को बताया उस दिन. I messaged him कि ये है, because I'd forgotten what I had named this book, right? I had forgotten, and in the excitement of the poetry deal happening, I forgot also. I didn't make the connection. So one night I was cutting the trailer, which I'll share with you as well. The link. I was cutting the trailer, and suddenly I said, "Hang on! What had I called my book? When I was in college 29 years ago," and that's when it sort of boof, it hit me. So I was like almost in tears.
Yes, that's just meant to happen, I think.
I know. I was so bizarre, but so beautiful.
Yes, so congratulations and all the best for the book. And hope a lot of viewers who are watching this show also go out and buy the book. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Please support poetry. Because क्या होता है? Publishers don't publish poetry because they say कि readers don't support poetry. So it's a vicious circle. If you don't support poetry, future poets will never get published.
Right.
So सिर्फ 225 रुपए हैं. I think 225 रुपए में क्या होता है? एक प्लेट बिरयानी आ जाएगा, है ना? When you make the equivalent to whatever, if you drink, it's a bottle of beer. So just go out, support poetry. Available worldwide on Amazon.
Yes, that's wonderful. So you've also dabbled in music and acting. That's what I hear. So can you talk about it? And also, so many different art forms. So do you feel that one art form helps the other?
So what I realized is, and I don't want to sound like, oh, kya gyan de raha hai banda. No, nothing of that sort. I realized that wo ek hi zindagi hai, one life, right? We have one life, and even if we are reborn or whatever, we'll never know this life, right? So each life is a unique experience. So if it's one life, then I would like to have as many experiences as possible. So I never say no to any experience. So if people say, "Can you sing?" I said, "Yes, of course I can sing." And then I will learn how to sing if I need to learn how to sing, and then I will perform. If they say, "Oh, can you do this?" I said, "Yes, of course." So never say no to a life experience. So acting, I loved acting when I was in school and in college, usual best actor award and all of that. But real life mein to hota nahi hai aise. So when I got the opportunity to act, I took it up. I got a call from Shanu Sharma's office, and she's probably the biggest casting agency, an agent in Mumbai, and she does casting exclusively for Yash Raj films, amongst many other production houses. But she's known for her casting for Yash Raj. So her team gave me a call and said, come over for an audition. So I went over for an audition. I did the audition and it went off well. And then they said, oh, it's for a movie called Sui Dhaaga, which is got Varun Dhawan and Anushka Sharma, and you play a very prominent role in the film. One of the fashion judges who helped them to change their career and all of that. So I said, yeah, of course, I'll learn. ये कोई पूछने वाली बात है कि करोगे कि नहीं करोगे. It's a mainstream film, and of course I wanted the experience. How does it feel to be in that? Of course, I had done television acting before in Adalat and stuff like that. But Yash Raj is Yash Raj, right?
Yeah,
it's very different.
I know, that's
yeah, it's like, and they really treat you well as an actor, even though we weren't the primary cast. They still, treated you so well, and which I really, really, enjoyed. And the director was fabulous, Sharat Kataria. We had a ball shooting for the film. So we did that, and then of course I went on to do a small, tiny bit role in Mission Mangal as well. So I never say no to acting. If it comes, I'll do it. Never say no to any life experience at all.
So yes, a lot of opportunities, a lot of experiences. Is there any one that you enjoy the most?
I enjoy each one of them for different reasons. I love performing stand-up comedy because it's probably one of the most brutal and honest art forms, because you are there performing, you are saying material that you have written, right? You are performing it as well, and you're getting instant reaction, right? You are literally naked on stage.
And not just reaction, I think people have to laugh immediately. Otherwise,
so if it's a bad reaction, you can't say कि यार dialogue writer ने अच्छा नहीं लिखा था. No, you have written the material, right? So you are responsible for yourself, and that is very edgy and very nerve-wracking. But on days when you get it right, when your material sails through, oh, what an amazing experience that is! Just to hear their laughter, so
you're in the zone.
Yeah, then you're in the zone, and then of course I start literally playing with the audience, with interaction, and I segue, go into things, come back. Once I have them, then I know, okay, so I'm in the safe zone. I like acting because of, again, the experience. I love writing because of the nature of it. It's a very solo sport, right? There's nobody there to help you at all, and it's a back-breaking work. A lot of people think of writing. I've heard a lot of writers or people who want to be writers talk about how can I be a good writer, or when should I write? When the muse visits me. I mean, there is nothing called the muse. There's nothing called the muse. Writing is a chore at the end of the day. Writing is a job, right? Yes, that you derive pleasure out of it is the cream, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you don't write, then you don't become a writer.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, So any writer, the advice is you have to sit down every day, whether you write anything that day or not. Every day, turn up at a specific time, like you're attending class or like you're doing a job. So if your writing time is say 11 to 12 in the night, you sit down at 11 in the night. उस दिन आप एक शब्द लिखो या 1000 शब्द लिखो, doesn't matter, but you have to turn up for the job.
Right. Yeah.
And to become a good writer, it's practice. Right? Like in stand-up comedy, when we write material, when we write a set, right, we call it a set. लिखने के टाइम हमें हंसी आता है. We think क्या लिखा यार मैंने, ओ हा 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 हा, पेट पकड़ के हंस रहे हम लोग, हा हा हा. But I'll never know the true worth or whether it works or not till I go out and practice.
Right.
And practice means in front of a live audience.
Open
right?
mics.
Open mics and all of that. And that's the nature. I can't stand in front of a mirror and say my set and think it's worked. No. The actual currency of it working is the laughter. So like writing, I have to keep going back to open mics and fine-tuning my set. You know, either ye kaam nahi kiya, it was too long, cut it down, punchline sahi nahi hai, all of that. So that's how it is. It's a work. I mean, you have to work to be a writer.
I think there are lots of tips that you have shared. So yes,
I also talk too much.
That's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. And there's a question I wanted to ask you, but I think you've already answered that, because when I was looking at your profile, you know, some people advocate focus on one thing at a time or focus on many. So what's your mantra? I think you've answered that. And but
I mean, never say no to any life experience. That is one. Right? And if one sees the genres that I write in, you know, usually I've been told that if you're a horror writer, then you should just stick to horror. You know, if the author chooses to stick to horror because he or she enjoys it, then that's absolutely fine. That's fine. That's by your own choice. But for the marketing reason or for other reason, if you're told that no, if you're a comedy writer, you must only write comedy.
Yeah,
I don't believe that. I don't want to limit myself at all, and I take it up as a challenge to write in a genre that I want or like. So my first book is a true crime nonfiction, which has become a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Right? Thank you. बोलना था ना, ऐसे थोड़ा publicity करते. सुनो 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 सुनो, #1 हो गया है, खरीदो किताब.
बड़ी बात है भाई, बोलना चाहिए.
And second is a poetry, right? Third is a young adult fiction, which is about kids solving a case.
Okay.
Fourth is a memoir, a love story set against a political background of the late 80s in Kalimpong, Darjeeling. Sixth is a true crime, again back.
Okay.
Seventh is a horror.
Oh, okay.
So I want to write everything that I enjoy reading. As a reader, I enjoy these genres. So, and as a writer, I want to enjoy them as well.
Yeah. So
I just go, you know, whatever I feel like writing, I write, and then I just send it off to Suhail, and I said, "Tumhara kaam hai."
Thank you.
Yeah. No, and he of course said, "Yes, you just write what you feel like writing. Rest we'll manage." So as a lit agent, he's got my back. So which is fabulous.
Yes. So when can we expect to see some of them? You mentioned that.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, everything got slowed down. So my young adult fiction book, which is currently tentatively titled The Sinister Summer Holiday, I wrote when I was in class 6. Again, see this. I wrote this book when I was in class 6. I lost the manuscript. I found it back again. I made my son read it. He was, I think, 10 at that point of time. He said, "It's lovely." I showed it to Suhail. Suhail says, "Yes, right." So then I revisited that manuscript, and it was a 10,000 odd word book. So now it's about 55,000 odd. I've fleshed it out, refined it, all of that. So again, it's from my class 6, what I seeded in class 6, and it's set in the 80s. 5 kids solving a mystery, but it's set in the 80s, so no technology, no mobile phone, no internet, nothing. They have to solve the case by their own, knowledge.
Legwork.
Yeah, legwork. So that is with Om Books.
Okay.
Should be out by the summer. The illustrations are going on right now. So we fixed on the illustration and the illustrator. So the illustrator's doing the drawings for each chapter. The memoir, it's called The Hills Are Burning. That is with Fingerprint Publishing. Again, a lovely, blessed to have these publishers pick up my books. Imagine debuting with Penguin.
That's awesome.
That's like, I still remember.
That's
yeah. And I remember Suhail telling me, he said, हाँ, किताब तो बिक गया है. Your ideas, this thing, your deal's done. Are you sitting down? So I said, no, why? He said, because the publisher is Penguin. And then I started crying.
Oh, man.
I just started crying because you've grown up, na? You've grown up seeing this this little penguin fellow. You've seen, this one, and then the ladybird and the puffin. These are books, these are trademarks you've grown up with. And to be published by Penguin is like, wow. So very emotional. So yeah, so 2022. We are in 22, right?
Yes.
It's like a blur, yeah, man. So there should be 3 to 4 books out this year.
Okay.
3 definite. 4th one, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I think, yeah, so lots of good stuff for everybody to look forward to. Anyway, we can, with all these lockdowns, we keep, it's hard to go out. So we can saving up on all those plates of biryanis and buying these books.
Yeah, I wrote, I think 3 books during the lockdown over 2 years. That's the only thing that kept me sane. I would have gone mad. I would have gone completely mad, cabin fever.
Yes. So I think it is wonderful to hear about all that. Looking forward to it. So coming back to your mumblings and musings, would you like to read some of?
Would love to. Would love to. Okay, let me see. I think I'll read something that's simple, so that usually what happens is, according to me, is that there are 2 types of poetry. One that you can listen and understand, it's easy to understand. Then the other variety is you must read to understand. And absorb it, whether it's the imagery or whether it's the style of writing. So I've chosen something very, very simple to read. It's called The Final Chant. Right. He lies in silence. The charpai creaks with his every strained move. The insects sing a dirge. His within is restless, but calm he remains. He awaits the end, as the final battle is lost and won. The gift of time has run out too soon. A faint smile on his lips, he sees it coming. His creased face contorts, a wax mask melting away. A few drops of holy water weaves its way. His parched throat sighs, contented. The final seal of fate is struck. The incantation over. His frail body is racked with the final convulsions. His body fights to stay alive, to breathe, not wanting to lose the fight. His eyes slowly close. His lips mumble the final chant, barely audible. Is it the final chant, or is it just a beginning? So it's trying to capture the last moments of life of an old man before he passes on. And then because we believe in reincarnation, and so is it actually the final chant or the beginning of something new? So that's that. I'm going to read another one for you. Okay, this is a simple one. It's, I mean, most of them are very short poems. Out of the 44 of them, I think about 8 of them are slightly longer, but otherwise, more or less, everything's short. This one is called the Clothesline. Right? You sit and drink your morning cup of tea, overlooking a clothesline, on which memories hang out to dry, and it drips and drops, gets seeped into the soil. Pieces of your thoughts never to resurface again. Are you glad you have no memory now to nurture? Are you glad your clothes are getting dry? So this is basically, the water droplets, it's like memory, your memories are hanging out. And as we age, they drip, the memories slowly fade away. And then at the end, are we happy that we have no more memory to nurture,
It's a beautiful metaphor. Yeah.
But it's a little dark though. I write a lot of dark poems, so very, very few happy poems, but so this one's called Mumbai. Again, simple. It's called Mumbai. Blinking lights of a fading era slip and slide on an evening tide. Scores of heads and searching faces play along like an endless song. Thankless lives and fateful smiles walk on by without a sigh. This is Mumbai.
Mumbai. Yes, that's wonderful. I could just picture the whole thing. So,
yeah, it's a city that's always on adrenaline. We are rushing, and yet it has two very distinct worlds of the colonial era and of course the suburbs in the modern era. And we are just like millions of people just walking by, like in a factory. So yeah, so these are the kind of poems that you'll get. I try and observe, people or situations, and I sort of let it fester inside me till it sort of comes out. So this is an image which Ashish has clicked. It's a little girl and her brother at the traffic signal. And the poem is called Waiting. So this I had seen at a traffic signal during the monsoons of a girl who was probably a beggar, was standing there and at the traffic signal. And so this is what I wrote. She just stood there. The rain had washed her hair into thin plaits that fell on her face like a veil. She just stood there, her dress plastered to her body, conjoining her to her renewed soul like second skin. She just stood there, watching the world go by as she shivered and smiled to herself, knowing that the sun will rise again.
Okay. Yeah, you've captured the moment. There's hope there.
Yeah. I mean, even they see hope, and that's how life is, I guess. One moment you are down, but you've got to keep motivating yourself to rise up.
Yeah. So I think, thank you so much. I think it was wonderful to
thank you
hear about your poetry, hear about your background and everything that you've done. And as you said, in this times, pandemic times, I think you've gone back, to your poetry, to your writing. I think it's something which for everybody, right? That's what I said. I think we do need to nurture our soul at this point.
Oh, yes.
And, and reflect. So I think the time has come for the poetry rising, I think.
Yeah, poetry is becoming popular. Let me say, poetry is very, very popular now. There's a resurgence, especially of Hindi and Urdu poetry. बीच में क्या हुआ था कि poetry had got relegated to the curriculum. right? We only studied poetry in school or college as part of a course.
Right.
Reading poetry for entertainment or for pleasure had disappeared. Right? The generation before us, which is our parents or our grandparents, were the ones who actually loved reading poetry, whether there are any different languages. They actually read poetry for the sake of reading poetry, not studying. Our generation sort of went back into books and academics and studying poetry for the sake of it. Now, there is a resurgence of appreciating poetry for the sake of poetry.
Yes.
One doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be part of a curriculum or the ICSE or whatever. So lots of musharas are happening, lots of live performances are happening. English poetry, the spoken word performances are happening.
The slam
poetry.
A lot
of slam poetry. Social media's helped, to sort of make it popular. So poetry is back. Poetry is back, and it's a great thing to have poetry back. It's a great moment. It's a great occasion to have it back. But on the other side, it must also be appreciated, right? I mean, if you see during the times of royalty, the performers were always sponsored by the royal families, right? The poets and all of that, because to be an artist, you need to also feed your stomach, and so the royalties then took care of that, right? Or the poets and the singers and all of that. So we need readers as well to go out and support Indian writers.
Yes.
You have multiple Facebook groups on reading or writing, and 75% of the time you will find posts only about foreign authors. I like thrillers. Somebody posted, I like thrillers. I like Lee Child and whatever. I've got 7 of Lee Child's books and all of that. Why haven't you read Vesh Dhamija? The Vesh Dhamija is a world famous thriller writer of Indian origin, beautiful writer. Why haven't you read Vesh Dhamija? If you're talking about P.G. Woodhouse, why haven't you read Dr. Just Kohli? So one must also, if it's Stephen King, then I love Stephen King, then read Neil de Silva or Siddharth Nirvan or Sid Kapuri. You've got to read Indian authors as well.
Yes.
If you don't nurture, the plant's going to die. A plant cannot just grow on its own and flower and seeds. Once in a while, you have to put water, you have to put manure. So that's the request I have for all the viewers that are there, is to read Indian authors, and for parents to encourage children to read. Life is not about MBA. Life is not about becoming doctors, engineers, IIT, IIMs. No. I mean, that will happen. If it has to happen, it will happen. But their foundation, children's foundation, should have knowledge, literature, books, poetry, culture, art, music, all of these things. That's the foundation.
And that's a wonderful message. So, thank you. And so with that, I think we come to the end of the show. So I think you heard it here from the band. Poetry is back. And we'd like all the Indian readers to buy books and read Indian authors and poets. So thank you. Thank you for coming on my show and sharing all of this.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. It's always a blessing to have people when sort of reach out and say, hey, do you want to be on the show? For me, it's a blessing because I get to talk and share words about my books and of course myself, and that's a blessing. So thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor.
अरे बाबा इतना मत बोलो, इतना मत बोलो. ना मैं जज हूँ, ना मैं रॉयल्टी हूँ कि और ऑनर कह रहे हो. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.